Up, y'all? It's another episode of Candyology where we talk about love, sex, and relationships. Oh my God, I have missed you. I have so many things in the works, guys. It is ridiculous. And no, I have not forgotten about my audience. No, I have not, because I love you guys. You know I do. But the things that are getting ready to happen for Candyology coaching services, which is my main thing that I'm doing right now, is phenomenal. And so I can't wait to share. And so some of the things that you've definitely seen already is that we had a mini couples retreat coming out July 8th and July 9th. I'll tell you a little bit more about it when I get the show started. And I had a new office location. Oh my God! Yes, you have to come and be a part of the new facility in Arlington. And I will definitely tell you more about that when we get this show started. But I have a wonderful, wonderful guest for us today. But, I got to get this started with what? Candyology. So, guys, listen, I told you when I came back, I have some things to tell you. I got a couple of recaps for you really quickly. Listen. So, new office at 1601 East Lamar, Suite 204 in Arlington, Texas, 76011. Beginning on June 2nd, you will be able to come in for in-person. I know a lot of people have been asking me for in-person, and I just had to do virtual for just a little bit while we were transitioning from Fort Worth to Arlington, but I'm so excited for you guys to come in and see the new facility. The second thing, remember, I just mentioned, if you're just joining us, I just mentioned the mini couples retreat July 8th and July 9th. Friday night is a game night, guys. Woo! A meet and greet, a game night, couples game night. We need to get away. This is a mini couples retreat, right? You don't have to be married. You don't have to be engaged. You just have to want to be together and stay together, right? And so Friday night is the couples game night. Saturday is an all-day workshop from 8:30 to 4:30. You have lunch catered by a few different people, actually. So we'll let you know as that time gets a little bit closer. However, you'll have 2 sessions in the morning, you'll have lunch in the afternoon, and then 2 more sessions after 12 o'clock, kind of after 1 o'clock, actually. So I'm so excited. The cost of it is just $297, guys. The cost of a divorce can be anywhere from $1,000 to $100,000, depending on your assets, your house, your cars, your kids, all of those things, lawyers, right? So I think $297 to invest into your relationship is not very much, right? I want to save relationships and save lives. That's what I'm in the business of. So come on, if you have any more questions about it, if you need details, please go to my linktree.com/candyologycs. And of course, you can DM me on any of my social media platforms. Okay. So we'll talk more about that again sometime throughout this show. However, guys, let me tell you, I am so very, very excited for the guest that I have today, guys. Okay, so little background from me, right? As a child, I played the piano, okay? And I know most of you guys that have followed me, you know I'm musically inclined. I sing, I dance, but something that you don't know about me is I play the piano and I play the flute. And I have always had a very, very big love for music. And the person that I am bringing on today touches my heart in so many different ways, but I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself. But Craig, can you give us a little something something? Just takes your breath away. Ooh. Bravo! Hi,
Hi,
Craig. How are you?
Hi, Candy. I'm good. I'm really good.
I am so ecstatic to have you on my show today, guys. Listen, if you follow me, you know I shared something, and I'll get him to talk about it a little bit later on in the show. But I shared something that he is collaborating with another fellow person, Karen Mikos. Oh my God. It is going to be amazing, but I'll let him talk about that a little bit
Yes.
in the show a little bit later. But Craig, can you tell me, first of all, what is the name of your business and what do you do?
Well, the name of my business that most people are intrigued about is Under the Piano. And people literally do come and lie underneath my grand piano. And what happens is that I have a conversation with them, and they share about their lives, whatever they want, and I listen carefully. I invite them to create intentions for what they want to have in their life if they like. And then I say they because often it's couples, it's individuals and couples, they get under my grand piano. And then I spontaneously improvise a concert of their life for about 40 minutes. And
Mm,
it's all inspired by what they share with me and what they create with me.
mhm. And so that's so very powerful to me. And so I just want to ask, first of all, how did Under the Piano come to life? How did you birth this thing?
Well, there's kind of two things. So when I was a child, my mom bought a grand piano, and she used to play, Chopin and Schubert. She really liked those two composers, as do I. And I used to crawl under the piano while she was playing. I would just hang out under the piano. And it's like, it's the coolest place to be. Like, it's like you're in a fort. You know how when we're kids, we like to make forts? You get blankets and you put furniture on its side and you create these forts. Well, it's like just a ready-made fort under the grand piano. But then there's the surround sound, when the piano's being played. So you're like kind of immersed in this auditory bubble as you lie under there. So I just loved doing that as a kid. And then I got older, and when I got into teens, I just stopped doing it. It wasn't anything conscious. I just stopped doing it. And then, about, I guess, 12 years ago now, I was in a piano store playing these amazing pianos. This piano store called Showcase Pianos is the only place in Western Canada that sells the Fazioli. It's this Italian piano. And I had read about them and dreamed about playing them. So when that store opened, I was like in there like a flash. You got to try these. So, when you imagine something and then it's not like what you imagined, but it's even better.
Mhm.
That's what the Fazioli piano is like. So I'm just like having this wonderful time in the store. There's one other piano player in there. I don't know him at all. And he was playing the 9-foot concert grand Fazioli. And I don't know why. I just looked over and I suddenly remembered being that child crawling under my mom's piano. And I was just like goofing around. So I walked over to him as he's playing and said, just keep on playing. I'm going to crawl under the piano. So I did. And he kept playing. And I'm lying under there like full length because it's a 9-foot concert grand, right? And I'm remembering my childhood. And then I'm also just feeling the vibrations. Like, it's like getting a massage with sound when you're lying under a piano. It's not like listening to a piano from across the room. So I went home and I kept thinking about it. It was just bouncing around in my head for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then I had like 3 friends over to see what they thought. And by this time, I actually have my mom's grand piano. So it's the same piano I used to crawl under, right? And
Mhm.
and so they each took turns getting under. And then I played, I improvised. This is the other piece of it. I improvised for about 10 minutes for each of them. And they're all just kind of like, oh my goodness, this is not anything like, as I said, sitting across the room from the piano. And one of them just said, in the conversation, we're just kind of batting ideas around, you should do it as a business. You should call it Under the Piano. And that's how it happened. I've been doing
Wow.
it for 12 years now.
Wow. I mean, where do I begin? Because I have never sat underneath a piano. I've played the piano, I played the keyboard, but I've
Yes.
never actually sat underneath a piano, and nevertheless lied
Yeah.
underneath the
Yeah.
piano, right? And
Yeah.
so my thing is, how do you gain the clients that understand this experience? Who are your target audience at this point?
Well, when I first started doing it, I joined a networking group, and I thought I just have this great idea, and I marched into the networking group, and I was all excited about my idea. And there's like a small number of people who instantly get the what's possible, the idea of it. Like they can imagine, oh, that would be different. That would feel different. So there's this small group of people who instantly get it. So those people show up. And then as I discovered, there's the silent majority who thought, that's really weird. Why would I ever crawl under a piano? But what happened was that as people started doing it, and then I got these incredible testimonials, people thought, oh, okay, maybe I should try that. So who comes are mostly, I really didn't know what to expect, mostly couples that want to celebrate their relationship in some way. So I get people celebrating wedding anniversaries, Valentine's, birthdays, sometimes Mother's Day, things like that. I would say that's the majority of who comes. Because it's very romantic and very intimate.
Right, right.
And it's also very connecting.
Hmm.
Like, when people are done, I ask them, so what words come to mind? And that word shows up so often.
Mm. So
Yeah.
how does a session start with you? How you said you improvise on these pieces. So how does it
Yes.
really start?
How does that start, the
Hmm.
session?
Hmm.
So we have, like as I said, we have a conversation first. So I get to know about the the couple or the individual first. So I'm not a therapist or anything, right? So all I really do is I listen. I don't add any commentary to what they share.
Hmm.
And so some people are really open and they share about big things in their life, things that they're contending with. Some people are just say, well, I came from this, I like doing this, these are my hobbies.
Hmm.
I work with whatever I'm given, but I do have I do create a kind of an environment where people are pretty comfortable to share openly with me, I have discovered.
So do you
So
have a list of questions that you ask, or is it more of just tell me about your life?
it's more tell me about your life, and then if they need some support, then I'll ask them, well, what are your interests? What are your passions? Where did you grow up? And then that gets them going.
Because I just think about how music is therapy, right? It's
Yes. Yeah.
genuinely therapy for a lot of
Yes.
people, whether they realize it or not, right?
Yeah.
The way I grew up in the church, and I wasn't allowed to really listen to like R&B or pop music or anything. So I was listening to gospel, but I was listening to classical, and I was listening to Chopin and Mozart and all of those different classical people. And
Yeah.
I just think about, had I had someone offer me to go underneath the piano at that point, especially in some stages of my life. I think I've shared with you before that I went through a little crazy bit of a divorce, and after
Yes.
healing from that, I look back on it like, oh, music was definitely my therapy, and I could have
Yeah.
definitely used someone like you
Yeah.
to just be inspired and just play and make something that I can
Yeah.
listen to, because that's what you do, right? You also give them an audio file, right? That
Yes,
we
if
can
they
use.
want. Yeah. They
Hmm.
have I always record the session, and if they want to get the audio recording, they can get that. And I would say like 60 to 70% of people choose to get the recording. But you're kind of segueing into the other clients that started showing up that was unexpected, and so that is people who are dealing with serious stuff, people who are ill with cancer or physical issues, people who are grieving, and pregnant mothers as well, and couples. Um, and the first time someone who was grieving came, like I didn't know. I didn't know anything about this person. She was recommended by a friend. She was visiting from Toronto, and I can just still remember it so vividly. She sat there on the chair next to me, and then she shared about how in the last year she had lost her son and her husband. They died. And then she turned to alcohol and became an alcoholic. So I'm going, oh, you know, she just shared everything very openly. And then she got onto the piano, and I played. That's what I played. I played what she shared. And it was cathartic for her. It was literally cathartic. She just let go of so much stuff. And she just came out from under the piano a different person.
Mm,
And music has that ability to access that which we don't yet have words,
right,
you know.
right. Which actually leads me into asking about your upcoming um, thing that you guys are doing together. But
Yes.
let me say this. If you are just joining us, I am speaking with Craig Addy, who his business is called Under the Piano. And it is exactly what you're thinking, guys. You're literally getting under the piano, and he's giving us a little insight about what he does. And if you don't know who I am and you're joining me for the first time, my name is Candy J. I am a certified clinical sexologist through the Dr. Rachel Institute and the American Colleges of Sexology, and I focus on putting the oohs and the ahs back into your relationship. And I do this by helping to foster better communication. And I am all about communication. So, but back to you, Craig. So you and Karen are doing what would you call this?
It's so let me just give you a little preamble to how this came up. So when COVID happened, in person under the piano came to a stop. All my in person, I was doing piano salons where I'd have groups here as well. That all came to a stop, right? And so, what was available to me? It was online. So I started doing Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and then eventually I started doing private Zoom concerts because then I could get the interaction. Like people could share about their lives. And I discovered, the piece about what I offer isn't just about being under the piano, which is really powerful. The other piece, which is equally, if not more powerful, is that I recreate people. I recreate their experiences. And that works online. That goes right across the screen and touches your heart and just gets to it, right? So, Karen, who is, a death doula, end of life doula, she and I got to know each other, and we thought, what if we did something together? So she's got this facility to guide a conversation about grieving. She has an expertise that I don't have. And so we're going to have this conversation with an intimate group of people, and she's going to have the conversation, and then I'm going to recreate what they share with music. And I'm really excited about it. I mean, because what I find when I collaborate with other artists or speakers or practitioners is I go places I just wouldn't go otherwise with my music.
Um, so, which brings me, I kind of want to give our audience a little bit of, maybe a teaser of how that works, right?
Yeah.
So, I want to share something with you,
Okay.
and then I want you to just do what you do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I grew up with my father and my mother, right? My mother was a pastor, my dad was a minister, and they separated at the age of 10 due to drugs and him cheating, and he was a fireman, and he was an amazing person. He just went down the wrong path. And so maybe about 5 or 6 years later, my father and I kind of reconnected because my mom kept us away from each other. And obviously that was probably for the drugs and all of that. And he was a different person, definitely still struggling a little bit, but he was a different person. And I grew very, very close to my father. I was always a daddy's girl, always, completely. We're talking about going on bike rides. We're talking about playing Connect Four. We're talking about cooking in the kitchen with him. You know, those were the things that meant so much to me with my father. And also, my father was more of a personality like mine. You know, he was bright. He met another stranger. He was a jack of all trades, because if you really know me, you know. Um, but what I loved about him was that he truly cared about people, and he had a heart and humanity for, people in the community. And people have no idea the things that I saw him do for other people that he never said a word about, right?
Mm.
And so years later, me and my mom are not close. Years later, my son turned one. He got to see my son. I went down to Florida because I live in Texas. He was in Florida. He got to see my son once. And coming up around the next March 26th is my birthday. My father passed on March 22nd.
Mm.
And so this was, of course, 4 days before my birthday. And I would say, we buried him on my birthday, which was interesting in itself. And so from the time that he passed away, the time that I got the news until maybe a year, I was so depressed. I was a functioning depressed person. I was a teacher. I was a mother. I was becoming single because my ex husband and I were transitioning to not being together anymore. So I was a mess. I was still helping people, right? But I was helping them out of the innate thing that I do already. My heart is, I'm a giver. I go into help mode and worry about me later, right? And you're not supposed to function that way, but that's what really helped me at the time. And so I say all this to say your focus in your next event is grief, right?
Yes.
And so there's my grief story. I was
Yeah.
depressed for a whole year. I swear, nothing made me feel better. It was the thought of I'm an orphan now, even though my mom is still living. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. I'm an orphan now. So my grandmother passed away the year prior to this. So it was like I was back in the same position a year later. So with all of that being said, what does your mind and your brain tell you about that piano that you have sitting next to you?
Well, I mean, you've given me a lot. I mean, I could just play with what you said for sure. So depression, being alone, I hear that big time, that loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other emotions or feelings that you could put to that experience?
Depression, a pure anxiety that I was going to allow my depression not to be here for my son. Something was going to fall off the face of the earth, and I was too, and he was going to be motherless as well as,
Yeah.
My son's autistic, so that was one of the biggest things. That's actually one of the things that helped me get out of my depression, because I was like, I got someone to live for. He needs me. And I think it was extreme sadness, it was extreme depression, anxiety, those loneliness, definitely. So I feel like those are the main things that I was feeling at that time.
Okay. Well, let's create some music to capture the essence of that.
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, the talent that you are blessed with, I am so excited to share with other people.
Mm.
That was so moving. Definitely embodied everything that I was saying. Absolutely. Um, and guys, if you're just joining us, I am speaking with Craig Addy of Under the Piano. And if you listen to this beautiful thing that he just played, what he did was he took what I said about my grief and my life and turned it into this phenomenal piece that you just heard. If you didn't hear it, rewind, replay, and hit hashtag replay. And so, if you don't know who I am, again, my name is Candy J. I'm a certified clinical sexologist and a relationship and intimacy coach. I specialize in putting the oohs and the ahs back into your relationship, but I do that by helping you foster better communication. Everything is about communication with me. I specialize in infidelity issues, sex therapy, sex education. I would say dating after divorce, and so many other different things. Trust me when I say I am along all of these different spectrums. So, but again, going back to Craig. So Craig and Karen Mikos have an event. I believe it's on
Yeah.
June 11th, or is it June 12th?
It's June 12th.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it's at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's actually called Reflect, Remember, and Renew. That's the name of the event.
And where can
And
they find this? What is your link for them
if
to
you
go
go
on?
to my direct.me/Craig Addy, um, I've got the event posted with a whole list of all my links for my websites, all my social medias in there, and I've got that event posted right at the top of that. And I can also give you the direct link for that as well. So,
Yes, and guys, I'll be putting that in the
yeah,
chat
yeah,
once we wrap up here. But so, Craig, anytime that people come on my show, I get into their business a little bit, just a little
yes.
bit. Okay. So, how did you start? First of all, how did you even start playing the piano? What led you
Oh,
there?
well, I grew up in a family of gifted educators. Both my parents were teachers. My dad was a
Mm,
school principal. My mom was a gifted teacher. She actually ran a kindergarten in the basement of her house while I was growing up, all through elementary school. And so, like, I had this, like, this fantasy land to play in. This huge room with painting easels and musical instruments and Lego and Tinker Toys and a library of books. You name it, everything was in there. So, I had this opportunity to really have a creative life. And my parents gave us all music lessons. And
mhm.
I just immediately took a shine to it. My sister and I both continued our piano lessons quite a ways. My sister didn't go as far as me, but she became a very accomplished player herself. And it was one of many things I loved doing, playing the piano when I was younger. But I was, the introverted type. I like to go in the corner and color and make art and play music rather than be with the other kids. And when I hit high school, um, that lovely specter of bullying emerged,
Mm,
and I was just a little bit different. And it really, looking back, I could see it coming, but I didn't know it. I didn't see it coming then. So it was a real shock.
right.
And, the thing about being bullied, I wasn't physically bullied. I was always the threat of being physically bullied, but it was the embarrassment. It's just so humiliating. You wanted to go in the corner and disappear.
Absolutely.
Um, and so, thank God I had a loving family to come back to, but I was so embarrassed I didn't tell anyone. I
Oh,
didn't tell a soul. And what happened at that same time was my piano teacher gave me a Chopin nocturne to learn. And that was like kind of the first serious piece of classical music she'd given me. And, like so many of his nocturnes, it was slow and it was sad. And I found in that piece everything that I needed just to get through that time because it was horrible.
Right.
And so it was a way I could safely express what I was going through without being teased or bullied or anything. And so it's no surprise that my interest in music is its healing properties because it healed me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it provided me with something critical at a time that was so difficult.
Mm.
And then at the end of the year, I played that piece in my piano teacher's recital, which was a big deal for her. Like there were lots of people there, and and it really moved people. So that's when I realized, oh, it's not just for me; it's for other people too.
Right.
You know, so these pieces all came together. And alongside that I was always composing and improvising. So that's how it all came together.
And so you touched on being bullied. What were they
Yes.
doing? You said you weren't physically bullied, but what were they doing? Was this mental? Was this verbal? What were they doing to you?
It was ganging up and teasing like one and then a group of, you know, kind of circling around you and I was accused of being gay before I even knew I was gay. you know. It turns out I was, but I mean, like they told me before I had kind of had the realization for myself, and so that was very hard too, right? That was very difficult.
So let's talk about that since you
Yeah,
opened the door, right?
yeah,
So how did you know? How did you discover this? Because you said they knew before you did. How did you discover it?
yeah. Well, you start to realize, just like changing in the change room during gym, you start noticing that you're noticing things,
Hmm.
going, I like
Absolutely.
that.
Hmm.
you know and then latterly I can think back now, when I was 5, and can remember being attracted to men. I didn't know what that meant then, so I didn't make it mean anything, right? But now looking back, I could see it was there.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when did you tell anybody that you knew?
I didn't tell anyone until I was in my early 20s. Um, and in fact, my mother outed me.
Oh, do tell. How did she do that?
Well, we were at Lonsdale Quay, which is this lovely market, and we went for lunch. And she put her stuff down and says, "Craig, are you gay?" And I had this moment of fear. I don't want to disappoint my mom. And I think I said something like that. And she says, "Oh, that's nothing compared to some of the other stuff that's happened that you don't know about." Yeah.
So she was very accepting.
She was, yeah. And I said, and then, when I said, should we tell Dad? She said, well, just not right away. But, my dad was just totally okay with it. We told him shortly after. And, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I am a very fortunate person. I mean, I grew up in an incredible family, you
Mhm.
know. Thank God, things could have gone a lot worse for me if I didn't have that
Right.
behind me.
Did you
But it
have the
still has a
support of your
huge impact
sibling?
on you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pardon? Yeah.
Oh, I
It
said,
still
did
has
you
a
have
huge
the
impact.
support?
You go, your turn.
I said, did you have the support of your siblings?
Yeah, more or less. I think my older brother I think he had he's not with us anymore, unfortunately. I think he had some stuff around it, but he was never mean to me or anything about it like that. Um, but yeah, both my sisters were cool with it. Yeah.
And what about relationships? So how did that happen as far as starting to talk to people?
Well, I mean, I haven't had a lot of relationships. I was in a 12-year relationship, which I think we completed. Oh, how long has it been now? It's maybe 7 years ago. Um, and like we didn't live together, but we were a couple. what happened with that one was he was Sri Lankan, and he came to Vancouver so that he could, be who he was, outside of a traditional family.
Mhm.
And so we started this relationship, and he is such a family person. He just loves his family, right? And so he started sponsoring them. Like 4 years into the relationship, he's now living in his two-bedroom apartment with 5 people from his
Oh my
family.
gosh. Wow.
And he wasn't willing to be out to them. So
Oh,
it became I'm not into forcing anyone to do anything, but it didn't
right,
work.
right.
So I broke up with him, and then he just pleaded to keep going, so we got back together. But then in the end, he got that it didn't work either.
Right.
So we
Right.
parted ways. We're still on very good terms. When he comes to Vancouver, we meet up usually, and yeah, that was my biggest relationship in my life.
So in that, let me ask. I have two questions actually. One is, are you religious or spiritual? And two is, what do you feel like is holding you back? Because you said 7 years, right? What do you
Yeah,
feel like is holding you back from entering into another relationship?
I don't know. I'm so invested in my music making and my career that I just I don't think about it. I mean, now that may not, maybe there is something holding me back, but I honestly can't say, oh my God, I don't have a relationship. I wish I did. It would be
Mhm.
nice, but it's right now, it's not foremost in my mind.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And then my first question was, are you spiritual or religious?
Oh, I would say I was spiritual. There is religion in my background. My grandfather was a church minister. Uh, Presbyterian Church then became the United Church, I think, if I got that right. Um, and I loved my grandfather. I mean, he had 6 kids, and they all had almost all of them had kids, so we were a big family. So
Mm.
as I was saying to someone, I was like one of the cogs in the wheel with my grandfather. There were a lot of us. But I always remember my mom saying about him, he was quite a broad thinker. He was basically God is love.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
um,
So when you told them all of this information, did religion play any part into it, or was it just, I'm accepting of you and that's it?
oh yeah, it was just they're accepting me, and that was it. And by that time we weren't really churchgoers anymore, like we were when we were younger. My mom played the church organ and things like that when we were younger, and we all went to Sunday school. But by the time I was an adult, we weren't really going to church anymore. Maybe the Christmas Eve service sort of thing. But
Okay.
yeah,
And you said you haven't really been thinking about being in a relationship, right? So, but do you meet people? Do you go out? Do you talk
yeah,
to different
yes, on
people?
on occasion. Not so much during COVID, but I've been kind of holed up in my apartment for most of COVID. You know,
And so
I
you're in Canada, right?
yes, yeah,
So the
Vancouver,
climate has
Canada.
been a little bit different, I feel, than the United States for Canada. Can you tell me a little bit about how things have been there during COVID?
Well, I would say, I mean, it depends on who you talk to, but from my perspective, uh, uh, British Columbia, the province I am, has managed the whole thing really well. Um, you know, it's always, like the hospital situation has never become really, really desperate. It's
Mm,
become stressed, but it's, they just really managed it well.
okay.
You know,
And you said you've been in your apartment most of the time. Is that just by
well,
choice
that's an
or?
exaggeration, but I mean, I'm in downtown Vancouver, and I'm a block away from the seawall, which goes all the way around the city, and in a huge park. Stanley Park is like 15 minutes away from me. That's bigger than Central Park in New York. It's a huge park,
Oh,
forest and the whole bit,
wow.
you know. So, you know, I did do quite a bit of walking in the park and things like that. But, you know, I used to do performances in hospitals through the Health Arts Society. That's all came to an end, of
Right,
course, because the fragile people in those facilities.
right.
I had a handful of in-person piano students. Those stopped. A lot of things stopped.
Right, right. I can imagine.
But I wasn't sitting around though. I mean, I really, went online with my music. You started doing a little teaching online. You know, you adapt.
Right.
And, the silver lining is now I even do Under the Piano online because
Mm,
the recreation part, just like you experienced, works online. So
right,
now I can have a global clientele, which
right.
before COVID it was like all local. The world
Mhm.
was, oh well, it's got to be people who live here.
Right.
Not anymore.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because I know you shared something with me in a group that we're in, and when I heard it, I was like, oh my god. I was so moved to tears. It was ridiculous. And I think I've shared with people that I'm a bit of a crybaby sometimes, but it's because I truly care about people and my heart, is
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
And so when something just moves me, I move to tears, and that whole piece was like, oh my god. I was like, no, okay, 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 Candace. Because I listened to it about 3 times, like
Yeah.
just going
Yeah.
over and over it. It was just beautiful. And so my question to you is, do you have a YouTube channel that maybe they can
I
listen
do.
to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you go to the direct.me, it's right. It's listed there. But if you're in YouTube, just look up Craig Addy and you'll find me. Got a
And
channel.
and I haven't. I think I looked at it, but I don't think I looked at it for this question.
Uh-huh.
Do you share any the stories that goes along with the music?
Yeah, so some of what I was doing for a while, I'm not doing this so much now. I was doing Facebook Live and YouTube live streams. And the
Hmm.
way those worked is that people would share something in the comments. And so then I would put what they shared up on my screen, and then I would play the
Mm.
music. So you'll see there's some concerts on there called Piano Journeys or Piano Lullabies. I had a couple different versions. And those are all recreating from people's comments.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah.
So, I when we get off of here, you know where I'm going, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And
because I just,
especially the later ones, because I went through this journey of working out my audio, so the audio gets better and better over time as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, I mean, technology is great as
Yeah,
long as you know how to
yeah,
use it, right? Like,
yeah.
I learn things new every single day. So, at this current moment in time, where do you see Under the Piano going in the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years? What would you like to see for Under the Piano?
Well, I mean, it has kind of been on hold, so I'd really like to resume the in-person sessions again. I've done the odd one during the pandemic, but now it's ready. Things are relaxing. So and it's you can keep distancing even if that's required here.
Hmm.
So I'd like to see that come back to life. I have so many musical interests. The other thing that I really want to go is the online concerts for
Mm-hmm.
individuals and for groups. So like the thing I'm doing with Karen Mikas, for sure, more of that. Um, the other thing that I've been doing that I love is working with other artists like painters.
Oh.
So I've had them as guests in some of my concerts, and they bring some of their paintings, and we put them up on the screen, and then either the audience or the artist shares about what they see in the painting or what inspired the painting, and then I create
Mm.
music as people look at the painting. So all these different avenues of recreation are really what I'm about. So just like
Absolutely.
growing that whole thing.
I think I shared with you that I'm working on a poem, and I haven't quite made anything public. So stay tuned, guys. But well, I really would love for us to do a collaboration with that poem too, because I
Well,
feel like
absolutely. So I've had a couple poets as guests, and I wasn't sure how that was going to go, and it was really, really great. I
Mhm.
loved it. You know, we
Because you
actually
gotta.
put the poem up on the screen,
Yes,
you know.
I can just see it emerging together because I also speak poetry, so that would be spoken word too. Oh my
Yes.
gosh,
Okay,
can
well,
you imagine?
that's something we're about to release a film, a 17-minute film that's all done to a spoken word poem.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
yeah, she approached me after I played at an event. She said, "You want to work together?" So we'd come here. We spend a long time just kind of like, okay, how are we going to do this? Because it's I got to be creating music in time with the poem, which is a little different than hearing the story and then creating it. Like, so we went through this process of how is that going to work. And so I kind of mapped out the emotions.
Hmm.
So it'd be different each time, but I would have a map of the emotions that were coming as she spoke the poem. And we ended up with a crew of like 17 people. We had a director and 3 camera people, an audio engineer, and
So
the
bury
director
the
of singing
lead,
organist
Craig.
piano. Her name is Christine Bissonette, really gifted. So it was an amazing thing, and we're going to be making that video live pretty soon now, actually.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So
Please tag me so that I can
yeah,
share all of
yeah,
that beauty. Because poetry is definitely my thing.
yeah.
And I sing too. So like even when I was listening to the first piece that I heard you play, I created words to it almost immediately.
Yes, yeah.
And just started singing to it. So I can see, it being twofold for the definition of my poem and oh my god, so there's like
Yeah,
endless opportunities there. And so
yes.
definitely guys, as you guys are watching, again, I'm talking to Craig Addy with Under the Piano. If you just now joining us, you've missed so much. I just need you to rewind and put hashtag replay. If any of this has touched you, hashtag music, hashtag grief. I shared my grief story in this. You guys know if you've ever watched me before, I'm very transparent because I feel like not only am I helping people with my education but I'm also helping them with my experience. And if my testimony from anything that I've gone through can help you walk out of it, heal from it, deliver whatever you need, I'm here for it. And so, again, if you don't know who I am, my name is Candy J. I am a certified clinical sexologist through the Dr. Rachel Institute and the American Colleges of Sexology. I focus on putting the oohs and the ahs back into your relationship, but I do this by helping you to foster better communication in your relationship, whether that be premarital, marital, life after infidelity, dating after divorce, postpartum depression. And oh, Craig, I meant to ask you that question because you talked
Hmm.
about pregnant women. And so, what's
Yes.
the premise of them coming?
Oh, well, this is one of the coolest things. So first of all, the thing I like about it is that the partner can be there for the experience as well. So I like to say it's like one of the first experiences that all 3 of them get to have. So I always recommend they come in the 3rd term because the baby has hearing by then, so the baby can hear
Mm,
it. I play differently too. I don't play super loud because that could be damaging or not pleasant for the baby. So I play more gentle stuff. But as they land it, the babies, they start dancing around like that baby is enjoying the concert. But the thing that's really cool is that they always get the recording, the pregnant mothers, and I still get calls. I still play that recording whenever my baby gets upset, and it puts him or her right back to sleep. Or just calms them right down. Yeah.
And it's priceless. That's absolutely priceless because I can just think, as a mother, I can think about I used to play. I used to put my headphones on my tummy
Yes.
so he
Yeah.
could hear the
Yeah.
classical music or he could
Yeah.
hear whatever
Yeah.
I was. And I could just think about, the one of the reasons why Colin loves music now. We dance around our living room all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
to all of those things that I used to play. So I can
Yes. Yeah.
imagine, that being such a calming thing for a baby, after
Yeah.
the fact. Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
No, they
Hey,
remember. They
do
definitely
you know
remember.
what you have is golden? Music is life. Do you understand? And I swear I will push for anybody to experience shoot what I've experienced in this particular hour, but also
Yeah.
what other people have experienced coming to you. So
Yeah.
and like you said,
Thank you.
COVID changed a lot of things, and now you are able to have those things manifest all around the world. And so
Yeah.
I can't wait
Yeah.
to hear about some of your new clients that come from Australia
Yes.
to Europe to
Yeah.
Asia to right here in the good old United States. I'm
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So, guys, one more time, Craig, can you tell them where they can find all of your information?
So I have two websites. So the one I'm focusing on now is actually my craigaddy.com website because my offerings, I have so many offerings beyond Under the Piano now that it became necessary to create that website. And then my other website is underthepiano.ca, not com.ca. There is an underthepiano.com and it's not me. So underthepiano.ca.
Is
But the
Is it craigaddy.com?
correct. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
just gonna.
got everything on it. It's got Under the Piano on it. It's got my collaborative concerts with artists. It's just got everything that I have to offer on there.
Okay, let's see if I can bring that up just so that they can see what that they made it to the right place. Is this the right place?
That's the right place.
Okay, cool. Good.
That's it.
So,
Yeah.
guys, craigaddy.com. You should see this. Welcome to Craig Addy's website. And definitely, if maybe it's not for you, but maybe it's for somebody that that can be touched
Yeah.
by music, and some of us are not musically inclined. I definitely am. But those of us that are, we need things like this. So, I
Yeah.
am definitely so excited and blessed to have had you on the show, Craig. And
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I am so excited and I can't wait to see everything that comes out of Under the Piano. So, guys, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Follow him on Instagram, Facebook. Go to his website, look some things up. Heck, go to June, I believe it's June 12th, you said, right? June 12th. What
Yes.
time is it?
6 p.m. Eastern.
So it's 6 p.m. Eastern. For my audience that's in Central, that's 5 p.m. Central. What is that?
Yeah.
4 Mountain, 3 Pacific, right?
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Okay. So there's no reason. I just told you all the different times. There's no reason for you to miss it. And we did
Yeah.
not say anything about prices on purpose because I want you to go
Yeah.
to his link and find out how much it is because I don't think you can put a price on this experience. However,
Yeah.
they did. So so go there and check that out. And guys, remember that you can reach me at all platforms at Candyology CS. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is Candyology Radio, Candy J. And guys, again, if you have any questions, my banner has been going across the screen the whole time, www.candyologycs.com, or you can text or call 972-670-7787. Listen, I am wishing you love-filled days and orgasmic nights. Have a great